Are we calling this an episode of Your Release Radar?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, okay.
Why not, right?
Sure. Welcome, everybody, to an episode of Your Release Radar. I am Zach Little.
And I'm Morgan Little.
And today we are convening to discuss the release of our album.
Oh, man. Incredible.
Our band is called Relative Isolation, and our surprise album that we've been working on since March came out today, October 15th. It's available wherever you stream music.
Indeed.
I mean, I don't know if it's on like some really weird shit, you know, like some.
The weirder stuff will happen. Like even Napster and stuff like that are still a thing, and it will be available through all those weird Deezer, whatever Deezer is.
Check us out on Napster and Deezer.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that we should sort of talk about how we did this, but I think we can do it while we're going track by track through it.
Okay, I'm down for that. I want to say
that's something a good idea?
Yeah, I want to say thank you so much. You're my best friend. This is amazing. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy with the way that it came out. And it's just been like I was saying to Sarah, I feel like this is like a lifelong accomplishment here.
It's well, you know, I mean, there's definitely an element of that because some of these songs go back so far.
Yeah, that's true.
And it felt really good to kind of dig them up and dust them off and put them back together with you.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I agree. I had a great time doing this. It was such a fun project to be doing in secret for 7 months.
Yeah, I know. We didn't expect it to last that long. But
no, and I didn't tell anybody for the longest time that we were doing it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even tell like friends.
Yeah, I think the only person that I told within the first months was Brittany, our sister. But that was pretty much it. And slowly, I couldn't keep it secret. So I did. I think the only person outside of our family that knows is I told George Barber last week when I saw him. And yeah, it was tough to keep under wraps.
Yeah. Well, secret's out now. And so when people hear this, the first song that they're going to hear is called That Late at Night, which I remember you playing it at Dad's house years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Was it considered officially an Elm City Orchestra song?
Yes, for a while it was. And because I just couldn't get it off the ground with the Mild Revolution at the time, and we were just starting the Elm City Orchestra, so I was looking for songs to use, and that's where That Late at Night popped up.
On your feet, and do you ever think of me? I could try to share my life, yeah, I could try. That late at night, that late at night.
I thought it would be a fun, because Elm City Orchestra, just to give the short version, was just like a super group while I was in college of folk musicians. So I just thought it would be a good way to, a nice, fun, everybody sings, everybody screams kind of song. And that's all it was for years and years and years.
You might still have a chance someday, that late at night. That late at night. That late at night. that late at night, that late at night.
Yeah, but I always liked it, and the melody for it always stuck in my head. And so initially, when you and I started working on this album, it wasn't an album.
No.
We were just playing around with a couple of songs.
But I don't even really... do you remember where it started? Like, I mean, I remember the first song I think we worked on
Was King Sham.
was King Sham, but why? Why did we do this?
I don't really know. I know that I have had in my head this idea that I was going to at some point record LA Number 3, which is a song that you wrote, but that it's another song that I always kind of find myself singing when I'm just like walking around the house.
That's interesting.
And so I had this plan for a long time that I was going to record it at some point.
Okay.
And I remember maybe you just wanted me to try adding some stuff to King Sham. And then I connected that idea in my head with the idea that I wanted to do LA Number 3. Because those are the first two songs.
I've kind of always... See, okay, so on my end, I have always wanted you to produce my music. Because I just feel like everything that I try... I mean, I think it's no surprise to you that, like, everything that I do is kind of like you're my most influential artist. So it was always in my mind that if I were going to record something like this, or if I was going to actually record a full album of something, I would want your hands on it. But even with that thought, it did come up very naturally, and it didn't come from either one of us saying, like, we should just do this. It kind of just happened as we did it.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting, too, is that so this album was just created by a process. Like, in the process of working on these songs, we decided it was a band and an album. And the other thing is that we just kept changing the process by which we were making these songs, too.
Yeah, that's true.
So in the case of That Late at Night, it started with the beat.
Yes.
I sort of just vaguely remembered the song. And so I started playing around with a drum machine. And I sent you that drum track. And then you sent it back to me, like, almost fully formed. Like, your vocals were in there, Sarah's backing vocals were in there, that amazing, crazy guitar riff was in there.
I was really proud of that. I was really happy with the way that it came out.
I love that guitar part. And so I listened to it and I was like, I don't even know what to do now. Like, maybe this is it.
Yeah.
But so I ended up going back and I added in a bass guitar track, and then I added in some guitar, which this is going to be a common theme. The guitar that I put on this song, I lowered by an octave because it felt like it needed a little more like low-end sound.
Yep, for sure.
And so it's an artificially created guitar in that I really was playing the guitar, but then I used software to change the pitch of the guitar.
That's interesting.
And that happens throughout this album to varying extremes.
Yes.
I don't really know anything about recording music, but I love to experiment with recording.
Well, I would beg to differ on that one, but I mean,
well,
I think
don't know.
that you know more than you let on.
I am very unschooled, and so I am really just like, so for instance, even this idea of lowering the guitar by an octave. Somewhere along the way, I remembered that some Greek mathematician asshole back in the day, Aristotle or something, figured out that if you take a string and you pluck that string and then you bend that string in half and you pluck one half, it's the same note but an octave higher.
Okay. All right. That's interesting.
This is the extent of my knowledge of musical theory, that right there. So, like, on a guitar, right, the 12th fret on a guitar is like halfway.
Yeah.
So it's the same note as if you were to play the guitar without touching the, just playing the string open or 12th fret, same note, just an octave higher. So when I wanted to try to lower the pitch of a guitar, I thought, how do I do this? And so I took Audacity, which is a free audio editing software, and I just took that guitar track that I had recorded normally, and I just found a effect that said change pitch, and I changed it by 50%. And so when you change it by 50%, it's the same pitch, it's the same note, but it's an octave lower.
See, you started this by saying you didn't know anything, and look at that. I mean, that's interesting.
I think it's a good case study for how people who you might not know how to do something in an academic textbook sense, but you might know a thing or two that you could then use software to apply. A lot of the time I find myself thinking, I wonder if a piece of software exists that would do this thing that I imagine is possible. And then I look around and then I find that thing.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. So one of the things that I did with that guitar part in That Late at Night is I knew how I wanted it to sound, but I wanted like 3 different octaves to build over time. So I just start with the high one, and that's all you hear after the first verse and chorus. You just hear the high one. And then slowly they come in through the second verse, and they're built up to, I think it's 3 different octaves. But I had to kind of play around with how to do that little pull-off trick, the da-da-da, da-da-da. So I had a capo on like 3 different places on the guitar, and I had to layer them like that so I could get that sound. And it's funny that you ended up coming in on the low end and having to come up with this whole thing just to try and get the low end in there. So when we started this, again, it was like we didn't really know what we were doing. So there were a couple of tracks where I like didn't use a metronome or anything like that, which ended up becoming like a huge issue for us. And we ended up having to like drop some tracks because they were just too mangled. But one of the things was I didn't feel confident enough. When we get there, we can talk more about it, but I didn't feel confident enough listening to a metronome for what's going on. So I did that all without it because I couldn't keep the picking part up while listening to a metronome.
Yeah.
Like it just became too difficult.
I totally get that, and I think that's why I often use these sort of like dummy electric drum tracks first when I'm starting out, because it's easier for me to sort of play to the kind of natural swing of like, bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, snare drum, than it is to play to just a clicking metronome.
Right, I feel the same way.
You kind of lose that sense of swing. And I just mean like back and forth swing. I don't mean like cherry poppin' daddies. But so yeah, and it's funny when we can just talk about this part now. The funny thing about what's going on is that it's actually the overall pitch of the song is altered.
Yes.
I sped it up a little bit because I was having trouble playing drums to it. When I was specifically playing those hand drums, I was having a really hard time with the tempo that the song was at. It felt very unnatural to me.
Yeah.
So I just sped up the song a little bit, which is probably going to make it impossible if anyone ever wanted to like play along. It's like it's probably not in a key. It's probably like
That's funny. I didn't even think about that.
It's like 5% out of tune.
That's funny. So people with perfect pitch are going to be screaming at their phones when listening to this.
Yeah, or because it's like in one of those half notes that exist in like Brazilian classical guitar. But if you come to it with American ears and you listen to it, it just sounds like nonsense.
Yeah.
But to people that have heard those notes as musical notes, it makes sense.
LA number 3 was a great surprise to me because when it showed up, I don't think you had even told me what I was going to hear.
No, I just said I'm going to work on a song and send it to you.
Yeah, and that was really weird. I think I wrote LA number 3 in like 2006 so that song has been, and I just forgot about it. I never brought it back or anything like that. And
I always loved the chorus. I always loved the kind of like when you get into like a gang vocal part with like the "Do you honestly think time?" like repeating, and I just loved that, and so I wanted to do it.
I love that it was you singing. I just love listening to you sing.
There are very few songs that I can sing. You know, like I have a very limited. I have a very limited vocal range, and so there's just a few songs, and this was in the spot for me.
Yeah, you said it's as hard for me as it is for you. But when all this is done, I'll be alone, and you won't, will you?
So I recorded that one. I recorded like guitar and vocals at the same time, and I recorded it like sitting on the porch at my house. And,
it's got that feel.
Yes, I wanted it to sound like that. And what I thought was cool was that when I sent it to you, I think I had just recorded the guitar and the vocals, and maybe I had put some ukulele in there.
That sounds right. To you. That sounds right.
And then I didn't say to you, hey, like, make that second chorus big, you know? But, like, you knew what to do.
Yeah.
You say I just need some time to heal. Do you honestly think time can change how I feel?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like, that was always the thing. I remember really trying to press that upon. I used to do that song with my high school version of The Mild Revolution with AJ Merigliano and the rest of them. We used to do it where I would just play on an acoustic guitar and they would circle around a microphone and I would have them pick up whatever like little percussion things that they had around, and they would just sing the chorus of the second last chorus. And so when I heard it, I was like, okay, so I have to do that thing.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because I actually forgotten about that with like the little percussive instruments, but that's what happens at the end. I picked out the toy piano and a couple other instruments to layer in the background there.
I think that song's just one of those things where if you hear it, you're kind of like, yeah, I get it. And those things just follow suit.
Yeah. So I had a question. There is like what sounds like a keyboard or an organ or something that you're playing at the end of that song. And it's like those bass notes on the kind of offbeats.
Yeah.
What is that?
That is a computer program.
That's so weird because you can almost hear air noise.
Yeah. So I went in, I did a deep dive on what instruments GarageBand has that I could use as computers, like keys, you know? And one of those, or a couple of them, are like Chinese instruments. And which I can't remember the name of the thing right now. I guess I could look it up. So with that, it really came in, how do I use these where they are unrecognizable? So I would just start playing with, the mixing of the things. Start really messing around with just cranking a reverb or something like that, And then it came down to, how do I use the instrument in a different way? And I was like, well, it'll just become the bass for this song.
Primarily, this album is like, it's rock music. It's mostly guitar, bass, drums.
Yeah.
I will point out now, just because I will forget to say otherwise, that there is no actual kick drum on the whole album now.
That is so crazy to me.
I recorded almost all of this stuff with just a snare drum and a floor tom, and so I would change the pitch and the reverb and the EQ of the floor tom to make it sound like a kick drum. So there's no bass drum, no kick drum whatsoever. All drums on this album were played with hands or our computers. That
is so funny.
The stuff that is a drum machine beat is very obviously a drum machine beat, and the stuff that's not is very obviously not. I definitely wanted it to sound real. And kind of like my favorite drum sound is the end of Some Other Fad.
Yeah.
I like that kind of like slightly ugly snare drum sound. I have a beautiful snare drum that Christy gave me, and so it really takes some work to ugly it up. But like I'll like sit it on an office chair and like propped up slightly by like a deck of cards. That's how I'll do it.
Love that. That's I mean, you know, it's so funny too, because like we've been sending these things back and forth to each other so much that like there is stuff that I don't remember if it was you or me.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I didn't remember that LA number 3 part was me.
I think a lot about the fact that a lot of the guitar parts and stuff, not the main guitar parts, but a lot of the little accents and stuff, I don't even know what I was playing. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like if you asked me to go back and recreate it would take me a while.
I know. I feel the same way. There are like guitar solos that I don't know if they're you or me. I don't remember. So this really is the end. And you were positive we'd still be friends. And so I paid you off, split ties, so now nothing's owed. And you got a new friend from Chicago. Let's talk about Too Little Too Late.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you mentioned before that That Late at Night was a song you had trouble getting off the ground with your regular band. And the same is true for Too Little Too Late. I wrote this song for our band in high school, Subjection Casual, and we could just not get it right.
Yeah. Never. We never got it right.
Yeah, I always liked the guitar part. It was like my favorite guitar part I'd ever written. And we just could not... It has such a kind of like start-stop rhythm.
Yes.
That it's very unnatural for like a band of 6 people to try to recreate live. I started recording this song with an electronic drum track that I later removed. And it took a lot of messing around with it to get the right track. I wish I had kept the track because it sounds so weird. It doesn't sound like a regular drum beat at all. To get the rhythm of the song right.
Okay, so my end for Too Little Too Late is this. I absolutely adored that song when you wrote it. I really wanted to get it off the ground with the band when we tried, which we could not do. I tried to bring it up in my high school version of the Mild Revolution. Didn't really get off the ground there. I do remember playing it live once.
It was better. I remember because I remember thinking that Owen Lewis had a really great bass line.
And it worked to a certain extent. It was like even at the time I wasn't really playing a lot. So like it didn't even it probably would have gotten off the ground if that band was playing more, but it really didn't. And throughout the years I have always played that guitar part. I love that guitar part.
It's just fun to play. Like it's just fun to play with your hands.
Yeah, it is.
Like I think a lot of I play the guitar pretty much the same way all the time. And a lot of the way that I play is just like what kind of like feels fun.
Yeah.
You know, I
totally.
just do what feels good with my hands.
Well, and then there was also this was kind of that Late at Night for me where it kind of showed up completed almost when it got to me. And you had left it with no vocals, and we didn't have any of the solos or anything, but like the core of the song was there. And
I did drums, guitar, and bass, and then I sent it to you.
When I had asked you about like doing some solos on it and stuff, and like it took me a while to come up with anything that like it just like it's such a good rhythm part that it really needed something great to match it. I don't remember now who is playing. Is that both of us or is that all you?
What?
The guitar solos.
That's you. That's all you.
It's all me?
Yeah.
Damn, I rip on that.
I just did the rhythm guitar parts, and there's a couple of layers because the thing about that guitar part is that it sounds, you kind of need the string sound in it. And I was always recording like directly line in from my amp to the computer. So you can't really hear like any string sound. So I had to kind of play it a couple of times, and I'm playing it a little differently to get that something that's close to the sound of the strings itself. Because otherwise it just sounds too solid.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to sound solid. It's supposed to almost sound like a distorted acoustic guitar or something.
Well, and I recorded that. Okay, so I recorded my solos for that song on my mini twin amp, that little Fender thing, like the 6-inch amp. And I just put the mic right up against it. And because I really liked the dirty, gritty sound that was coming out of it. But I was like, obviously if you're just playing, it sounds too small. It doesn't sound full enough. But if you're able to, record it and then and kind of beef it up a little bit, it does sound good.
Yeah, I've always liked the sound of like putting a mic right up against an amp too, but I recorded a lot of this album while like my children were sleeping.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No,
I had to really I had to record it quietly.
Yeah, I'm sure my neighbors hated me that day that I was trying to do the solos on this song, because it was just brutal trying to get them done. And because like I said, it was like I really wanted something strong to go against this rhythm part that is so intricate. I mean, it's not that intricate, but it's very different from the rest of the songs on this album. Because it was written by you 15 years ago.
Yeah. And I think when we started recording this song, that's when we were like, oh, is this like a rock record?
And I really liked the really heavy rock and stuff.
Yeah, because this was the third song that we recorded, and up until that point, I think there'd been no electric guitar yet. I don't think I'd added in. There's a kind of burst at the end of King Sham, but I don't think that was in yet.
I don't think it was either. I think it was just synthesizer that we had that little thing going.
So what's funny is that like my first contribution to this album was LA number 3, and then I never picked up an acoustic guitar again.
Ha! That's funny. Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me, too, because it was like, it got to a point where we were like, starting with an acoustic guitar, but maybe either dropping it out completely or layering it so heavy that it's not a very prominent instrument on a couple of these.
Which is something I've actually always liked in other recordings. I remember when I was younger and just listening to music that I liked and trying to figure out how it was recorded. I remember realizing that there was often acoustic guitar, even in like Green Day songs. And it was kind of there for like percussive reasons.
Sure.
Because it didn't really have a lot of like melodic strength compared to like the other guitars on the track. But you could still hear it.
Yeah.
And it was almost like you could hear it, so you could hear like fingers and guitar picks and strings, which you don't really hear as well with an electric guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The Vanilla and Honey Chamomile.
This is my Rage Against the Machine song. Which I will explain that because it doesn't really make sense on its face. But on the Rage Against the Machine album, The Battle of Los Angeles, there's a note on the back of the album that says all sounds on this album were created with guitar, bass, drums, and vocals.
Yes.
Because Tom Morello makes some pretty alien sounds with a guitar, and they wanted you to know he only used a guitar to make that sound.
Yes.
So this song started out as you sent me, the guitar part and the vocal part. So it's essentially a finished song, just guitar and vocals. And every other addition to this song is made with a ukulele.
I love that.
So that includes the obvious ukulele parts in the left and right speaker channels. It also includes the percussion. It's the bass drum sound is open palm on the back of a ukulele, and then the snare drum sound is fingertips on the back of the ukulele. And then the bass line is a ukulele dropped, I want to say 200%. Which took some doing, because in Audacity, in Audacity, you can only lower it down to 99%. So if you lowered it down to 99%, the pitch would be off just slightly. So I had to export it. I had to lower it by 50%, export it, open up that new version, lower that by 50%, export it, lower the next one by 50%. And so that's how I got down to what sounded like a bass guitar.
Wow. That's incredible.
But I do love it. I love the way that ukulele sounds as the bass.
Yeah, well, and I think what's interesting, I do too. I really dig all the, because, so with all of that, this song is pretty much the most straightforward, acoustic guitar and vocal song on the album.
Yes, I feel like its spiritual sibling is "We Are All the Earth."
Yeah,
which is the most straightforward alt folk or alt country rock song.
Yeah, I agree with that, for sure. And Nothing Major is kind of similar to that. But we ended up doing so much to Nothing Major that it no longer was that anymore.
Yes, to me, Nothing Major is our Neutral Milk Hotel song.
I really love the way that's. All right, well, let's keep going though. Trust that you've got honor, and trust that you've got pride, and trust that you've got promise and friends by your side. Vanilla and Honey Chamomile is a song that I wrote when I was in college, and I ended up befriending a girl named Erin Revel, and I ended up turning it into a duet with her. And it just kind of kicked around for a while. That was one of those recordings that I just did randomly and sent it to you just to see what you thought. This album is 12 songs, but we probably recorded 15 or 16 songs that, multiple ended up getting scrapped.
Well, because what would happen is you would send me a song. At this point, we had entered this sort of workflow phase where you were sending me these songs that were, essentially finished acoustic and vocal songs. And so I had kind of free reign to sort of define what the rest of the song would sound like.
Yeah.
And I really never planned it out. I always just started playing and just sort of building. And sometimes I would put a lot of stuff in and then take a bunch out and then start over. But it was kind of this it was like creation by accumulation.
Yeah.
So I would just add in these layers and layers and just, you listen to a song enough times and you start to hear what else could fit in there, You start to hum little melodies to yourself.
Yeah.
That you could fit in here or there. And then you pick up an instrument and you try to figure out what that melody you were just humming was.
Once we had the form, it was kind of we had multiple conversations about okay, so what does this song need to be actually there? What does this song need to be done?
Yeah, we started saying what else does this one need, or does it need anything?
Yeah.
And I remember with Vanilla Honey Chamomile, it was yeah, we don't want to add anything else to this song. Let's just keep it like this.
Yeah.
Which is funny because we'd already decided at that point that we were kind of going for more of a maximalist sound a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we were but we're keeping this one.
Well, and I actually asked you about adding more vocals and stuff to that song, and you were like, no, I think it's done. And
you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's important too, because then it would kind of end up being all of those tricks in the bag would be used for every track, and it just becomes the same thing over and over again.
Yes. There's a song that the reason that Same Old Sad Songs is the second to last song on the album is in part because it uses every single trick that has heretofore been scattered throughout the album all at once. And so it needed to come later than all the other ones.
Yeah.
Which is tough to do because I love that song so much that I kind of wanted to lead with it, but I was you can't.
Yeah. I know. I really loved the way that Same Old Sad Songs came out. And I a lot of it for me is that you sing the second verse. I really love that. And I want to do more of that in the future. I really liked that. So let's talk about Some Other Fad.
Oh yeah. So Some Other Fad is a song that we did used to play with our high school band.
Yep.
And I do want to say too that we wrote on here that all the songs were written by you and me. But I think the reality of some of these old songs too is that these songs were all written by our friends too. You know, in a lot of ways, because we played them with our friends, and so just the way that someone plays, even if you write a bass part for someone and you tell them to play it, they play it differently than you do.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
Now they have kind of written it a little bit in a way, and there is a melody to this song, to Some Other Fad. The song used to be called Count Backwards from 1,000. But there's a melody in this song that I'm pretty sure Jory wrote on his clarinet.
Interesting.
There's that, that kind of like...
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. Jory used to play that on the clarinet when we used to play this song. The song used to be much longer, but that What a Drag It Is rock out part at the end, Jory would kind of come in with that and play it louder and louder and louder.
All the things you think you need feels like such a waste. You act like you know, but you don't. So wait for some other fad. You tell me this is you, but we both know what a drag it is. What a drag it is. What a drag it is. What a drag it is.
And I always really liked that part.
I love the rock out on this track. I mean,
Yeah.
it was funny when we kind of realized that the song only had one verse, and we were like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna explode from here.
Yeah, because so we used to play when we played this song in high school. We just did we would play the first verse quiet, and then the chorus would get kind of big, and then the song would like open up, and so then we would do the same first verse again, but just kind of yelling.
You give yourself way too much credit. No, I can't forget that. You say yourself to everyone. I'm so much to leave them still not. And when I talk, yeah, you don't listen. How about this then? How about this then? You keep this up, but I am done.
I guess I don't remember that, but that sounds
Yeah.
right.
So when I went to record it, I was like, I don't really think I can convincingly do that kind of like yell in like a studio recording setting. So I just said, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do one verse, and then the song's just going to like explode into Technicolor, and then it just ends.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised it was even 2 minutes long, because I thought I was like, there's no way this song is longer than 90 seconds.
Yeah, but we filled it out nicely. you know?
And I have a lot of fun with that kind of sound, like that kind of where you're just layering layer after layer after layer of sound and just kind of finding little gaps to fill with another synthesizer. That I had so much fun recording that kind of thing.
That's a fun time. The big everybody screams chorus. You know.
I will also say that the last thing to get added to that song was, well, a little bit of synthesizer, but then also the drums at the end, because for the longest time those drums were still electronic, and
Yes.
so there was a drum machine just going throughout the entire song. It's actually two drum machine parts stitched together, because the chorus has the like thing.
Yeah.
So what I like about it now is that it's actually three parts. It's three chunks. It's just the drum machine, then it's the second drum machine track, then it's live drums. I will also just cop to the fact that each one of those drums is recorded separately.
That's so funny. I found that so hard to believe.
Cymbal is recorded separately. Hi-hat is recorded separately. Snare drum is recorded separately. Floor tom, fake bass drum is recorded separately.
Unreal. Honestly, unreal. I mean, you know, and I don't know. You can,
Yeah, my Josh. Yeah.
yourself way too much credit.
That's right, I said it.
That's right, I said it.
You sell yourself to everyone. I'm still not sleeping.
I'm still not.
And when I talk, yeah, you don't listen.
Well, how about this?
Yeah, well, how about this then?
Keep this up, but I am done. All those things you think you need, it feels like such a waste. You act like you know, but you don't. So wait for some other fad. Tell me this is you. We both know what a drag it is.
All right, so what comes after some other fad?
Nothing major.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, all right, let me tell you about Nothing Major. You sent me this song, and I was listening to it on a day that I had, like, very badly cut my finger. I was home alone, and I had been planning on doing a lot of, like, music recording, and then I, like, horribly cut my finger washing dishes. And like, you know, I'm not good with blood, and I was like bleeding all over the house. And it absolutely ruined my day. But, you know, by the end of the day, I'd sort of like recovered my mood a little bit. And of course my thumb was like absolutely covered in like bandages and paper towels and tape and stuff. But I still picked up a guitar to try and record something to go along with Nothing Major. And the first thing I recorded is that guitar part, the electric guitar. And I recorded it, and then it was like, I can't really play anything else. Like, I can't use my thumb. I can't really play, and I can't play drums. I'm going to drop the drumstick. I can't do anything else. So I just took that guitar part, and I started playing with the octaves on that. And so I created a lower version of it, and a higher version of it. And I started just putting them all together. So it's actually the same guitar part twice, you know, layered on top of each other. I got rid of the high pitched version. But so it's original guitar track plus lower guitar track. And just listening to it, I was like, oh, I get what this song has to be now. This song has to come in suddenly, out in like an unexpected spot, and just immediately go to 100 miles an hour.
I just loved that. Listening back, there were so many surprises while we were recording this. It was so much fun. But like,
I was really excited to send that one to you.
Nothing Major was
kind of like,
huge. I was like, as soon as the drums started, I was like, oh my god, we're really on to something here.
Well, and I knew it had to have the count in too, because I wanted to like signal to people that it was coming.
Yeah,
because
sure.
The song sounds like it's not going to happen. It's just like strumming and singing. And then all of a sudden you hear like click, 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 and you're like, oh shit.
This song, okay,
At least that's what I hope. I shouldn't say that people are like, oh shit, when they hear it. But that was my intention, was for people to hear that, the click, the count in, and go, oh shit,
yeah,
it's on now.
Well, and we, so with that song, so I wrote that song, I was, through, when I was really sick, I wrote that song. That song is sibling songs to Old Strings on an Old Guitar.
Yeah.
The night that I sat and I played, we had a really brutal night as a family together one evening. I was sitting at the dinner table and I just burst into tears. And
because you were in so much pain, I know.
And I remember that being very shocking to Brittany and Mom, which Sarah and I had remarked later on that it was like kind of no big deal for us because we had been going through it so much. Like we were like, yeah, it was funny how they reacted because it was like, this is like a daily thing for me. But that night I played Old Strings on an Old Guitar and Nothing Major for everybody. And then nothing happened with it. I kind of knew it was like too big of a song to get off the ground with my recordings. And by this point in our section of recording, I knew that we were going to be able to do it. So I was like, I'll just try it. I'll send it to him and I'll see what he thinks. And the drums was, I screamed with joy when I heard the drums. And I also said to you at one point, wouldn't it be great if at some point in the song, everything just dropped out and it became like strings? And I tried it on my own, and I ended up texting you being like, I can't make it work. And then you came back with that whole version where it drops out and you hear the voice message.
Yeah, which took so much fucking work, by the way. Oh my
I bet
God.
it did,
I had,
dude.
I had so many versions of that song because it's just, there's something about, so, and this just has to do with the way it's recorded, right? Because like that drum beat is not natural necessarily. It's not what you were necessarily hearing when you were playing that song and recording it.
Yeah.
When we did like a music party, back when Christy was pregnant with Arlo, you and me and Josh and Pat all played music together for a day.
Yep.
And we played Nothing Major.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I remember I was playing drums. And it was a much more kind of like relaxed, mid-tempo kind of jam. Mostly because, you know, we were just jamming and playing music together. You know, you can't really do anything super complicated in those situations. You kind of have to do the most basic rock version of a song. But, you know, so when you cut that beat out, you're kind of like breaking the illusion that you've created with all those instruments and all that noise. And so you have to like immediately scramble to kind of like build a new illusion.
Yes.
And so there's a bunch of other rhythmic stuff. There's a lot of like drumsticks on the sides of drums and different things like that is in there to kind of like just keep the song in the air.
Yeah, smooth it out. Smooth it out almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that song went through, I mean, even just back and forth, not even just from you, that song went through multiple iterations. And probably as many as the next song, Black Kettle, which we really struggled with.
Yes. So I remember when I first had Black Kettle from you, I took that old Yamaha keyboard that you have, that I have been keeping in my house, and I remember finding just one single note on the piano that I loved, this kind of like ding, ding, and so I like literally that was all I put in at first, and I was like, how can I now build this into something? And I remember I recorded several full drum set live tracks for this song. And I tried different things. I would record like 3 different drum takes, and then I would put them in different stereo channels, which is a technique I learned from Song Exploder. I tried to do something like that, and it kind of worked. I would have to cut out all the parts that didn't line up quite right.
Right.
And, you know, because it's very hard to play, like, live drums to a track that's already been recorded.
Yes.
So I would just, every time I was off rhythm, I would just take that part out. And I was hoping that if there were 3 drum tracks, at least one of them would always be going. And so that was one version. And I mean, that was the version for the longest time.
Well, I think this song almost got scrapped.
It did. And then you sent me another version with the click still in the track. And I realized that I could take some hand drums and create something with it, because you can be a little more precise, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I did that. These are also pitch shifted, by the way. I wanted it to sound like the drums on A Man Then Me Then Jim.
Oh, you mean the greatest Rilo Kiley song that there is? I love that song.
Yeah, and it's those drums that I feel like I remember Jenny Lewis or Jason Bozell or somebody saying that Mike Mogis put those in.
Interesting.
So like they recorded the track and then they like went home for the day, and then they came back and Mike had added that in.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So that was what I was drawing on spiritually with the drum part there. But we started joking that it became more like a Bon Iver song after a while.
Yes. Well, and it's like the soundscape of it is just very. It's just very. Yeah, it's kind of his style.
So my other thing I liked about this, first of all, there's like some little guitar flourishes that I did in this song that kind of sound a little bit like, I wanted it to sound like explosions in the sky. But when I hear it, it's just little things, like little slidey guitar parts.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the best guitar playing I've ever done in my life.
There's a lot of that on this album for me. There's like a lot of like, oh my God, this is the best version of that. I really like those slide parts too. I think that really makes the song. Especially early on before we got everything in it, early in the track, you hear those first and those really set the tone.
The other thing that happens in this song is it uses that same, I'm trying to come up with a word for it. It's pitch altered guitar.
Yep.
But the original track is there too. So I would play a guitar part and then I would copy it and I would lower it by an octave, and then I would play them together. So you get this kind of like watery and sort of weird. I mean, you can do this in real life. You can play a guitar part on the low part of a guitar, and then you can play the same melody higher up, and you play them together, and it sounds super cool.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of an artificial version of the same thing, and it's reaching some notes that are too low to actually play on a regular standard tuned guitar.
Early on we had the banjo part at the end,
Yes.
and I feel like a lot of the instrumentals came based around like, how do we make this all a fluid matchup? Because we were lost on this track for so long, but then I pulled off the banjo and I was like, that banjo part is so good. I kind of don't care what we have to do to get to the point of being able to have that happen.
Yeah. And I remember thinking that whatever I did to the song, I just wanted to make sure I didn't bury that, And I wanted to make sure that whatever came before still seemed like less than what came after.
Yep.
Which ended up being like a really tricky math problem. It's like, how do you add a bunch of stuff to fill out this song without adding too much to sort of step on the ending?
Yeah, and then I came up with that vocal part, which the layered doesn't mean now that I think I lied, however that goes. And it was just like a very slow process of falling in love with this recording. And that was a big part of it for me too, was like the fact that we were able to mix up the chorus right before this big thing at the end. And it all just ended up working out. It was just one of those tracks that like really worked at the end. It was a fun rehab project. I was sitting there doing like multiple layers of snare drum rolls. Yeah.
And I was like, this is fun. Even just on the podcast a lot of the time, I find myself kind of like shoring up stuff that I think is a little like, it doesn't have much structural integrity,
Yeah.
And so I kind of love those areas where you're like, how do I build up the base of this thing in a way that doesn't hurt it but helps? Record now.
Okay, I just did it too.
Cool. I think the first thing we should do is just establish that a significant time jump has just occurred for the people listening at home.
Yeah, so, where did we leave off?
We left off at Black Kettle, but we've
done Black Kettle, or
we did Black Kettle. Yep.
Okay, cool.
And that was like October 3rd, right? When did the album come out?
October 14th.
Oh, okay.
One of those days?
It was, okay, fine, cool, yeah, hang on. I might even be able to just play it right now. What does it say? Are we calling this an episode of Your Release Radar?
Oh my god.
Incredible. And I'm Morgan Little.
And today we are convening to discuss the release of our album.
Oh, man. Incredible.
Our band is called
like I said it.
Collective Isolation, and our surprise album that we've been working on since March came out today, October 15th. October 15th!
Yeah!
There you go. All right, so that was October 15th. It's now December 16th.
Yes.
And we are reconvening to discuss the tracks. We ran out of time. When we were recording this, I was sitting in my car at work, And I just ran out of time and I had to go back to work. So now we're reconnecting on
Yes.
another lunch break, though I'm at home now. Well, our office closed again. So
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the borders of lunch breaks and whatever have become blurry again. So what track, I forget, what track comes after Black Kettle?
Siren Song.
Siren Song. Okay, so this was another early one. This was an early, I think I started the instrumental, and I sent it to you.
Yeah.
And
It already had, by the time it got to me, I feel like you already had a pretty good, it already had electric guitar and stuff in it, didn't it?
yeah, it already had the kind of like, it had the opening, sort of Lenny Kravitz, distorted bass riff, and then it had the guitar layers, it had like the keyboards, and it had the drum machine. I later layered in some real drums, particularly
Right.
as the song goes on, because it felt like it needed a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
It's funny, because I listened to a lot of these tracks over and over again while I was running. And so I would listen to them as they were in progress and kind of think about what they needed.
Yep.
And a funny thing happens when I go running. I don't know if this happens to everybody, but at a certain point, music that I think of as being pretty fast slows down. And it's really strange because you're running and you're like, I thought this song was faster.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that happened to me with Siren Song. And so I remember running one day and being like, this song used to seem faster to me. And so I went back and added in like more drums to kind of make it seem more vicious or something.
This song is a personal favorite of mine. Like, of the songs that I've written, I really like Siren Song. I think that like, we used to, when I played it with a live band back in the day, we had started to try and mess around with auto-tune live. It was honestly like one of my favorite things that we did. This is when we had Tim Stone, Josh Halligren, and Caputo in the band, Matt Caputo. Like we started really messing around with live sound, and everyone in Keene hated it. And like we openly got like mocked about it.
Huh.
And which was like, yeah, but are you listening to it? Because it sounds really good, kind of thing. But like, yeah, it was weird.
He's a hippie town, you know?
That it's true, they are, but
Type of town that
I
would have
just-
shouted Judas at Bob Dylan for going electric.
yeah. Thank you. That makes me feel better about it. And I also had multiple and I remember I had I really landed before. We don't really do it, but before we used to land on a stop with like when I said Siren Song. It's a siren song. Right there, like would have kind of accentuated the stop.
I remember that. Yep,
And I remember Billy saying to me that he didn't like it, that he thought it was like hokey.
I think a stop in a song is, it might be hokey, but I think it's a totally acceptable like live trick.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
David Byrne does it. You know, David Byrne does the like, love me till my heart stops,
Yeah.
and they all stop.
That actually that American Utopia stuff where the stop lasts forever, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know, that is cool.
We did, yeah. So, I that's a perfect stop because it lasts too long. It's so great when it comes back though. All right. So yeah. So as far as the layout of the tracks, we had this significant portion done by the time it got to me, and like. A lot of the time, we only built a little bit up from there, but like, boy, this song just got layered and layered and layered.
Yeah, it's just because it was around for so long that you end up on this kind of like parabolic curve of like liking it, not liking it, liking it, not liking it, and in one of the valleys, I think I just kind of started adding more and more stuff to like sort of make me like it again.
Well, and it has. I mean, and we both did. I mean, because like the oohs and ahs that I ended up putting into the breakdown, which actually we should mention the breakdown. The breakdown was actually from a song of yours that we used to play with Subjection Casual.
Yes, I thought so. It was called
and I just called the say part.
Yeah, that song was called "I Was a Star," and
Yes.
I don't remember much of it, but I do remember those lyrics being in that song.
I don't remember much of it either, except for the fact that the verses, the whole bit to the song, the dun dun dun, that was awesome.
Oh
You
yeah,
remember
that song had a cool guitar riff.
Which I was thinking we should try and bring back.
I'm trying to think of what else is in this song. I'm
Oh
looking
well,
at some
all right.
tracks.
So you have that really heavy synth.
Oh yeah, that's fun. So the guitar riff before the first verse is a guitar, and then it's a synth before the second verse, and it's this very, I don't know, it sounds like a malfunctioning phone ringing. It was a really,
Yeah.
It was I don't really know how to manipulate the synthesizer with any sense of purpose. I started to get it, like I started to get some of the knobs while working on this record, but for the most part I'm really just goofing around twisting knobs as I'm pushing keys, and so
Sure.
I landed on that sound somehow, and I was excited about it, and I remember I had to like keep the synthesizer on so I wouldn't lose that setting, you know.
Is that the mini Korg?
Yeah, that's the mini Korg.
It sounds good. The I love that. I what I like about it is because it's a sound that's like, it almost sounds like it would make it bad, or like it sounds like it's like such an abrasive sound.
Yes, it reminded me
like,
a little bit
but
of,
it works so well.
Yeah, it made me think of The Calendar Hung Itself, the Bright Eyes song.
It is like that.
Yeah,
that is
that
what
song
it's
has
like.
a really abrasive synthesizer, and I think
Yes.
that's kind of why I think that's why I stopped when I heard that sound. I was like, ooh, oh, here we go.
Yeah. That it is like that. You're right.
I will say that there's a lot of guitars, layers of guitars, basically just playing the same thing in this song, with just different levels of distortion, kind of like
Yes.
turned up and down at different times, because that guitar, that chord progression is really, it's like, D minor, F, C, G is really fun, and it's really fun. It sounds
Yes.
really good on a guitar. It also
Yeah.
sounds great on like a piano. It's really fun to play. You barely have to move your hands to shift
that's
from...
true.
To shift from D minor to F to C to D, or to G. The more I play piano, the more I think that a piano really makes a lot of sense in terms of helping you understand music. I try to do a lot of Christmas songs. I try to play along when they're playing at our house, and, you can really just guess the melody by guessing where your fingers should go on the piano.
Yeah, but, and it's, I don't know if you're making this connection on purpose, but it's like Siren Song.
Yeah.
Like, because it just flows like in a certain way, and that's why the melody guitar riff sounds so good, is because it's just like a natural flow of the song.
And that's, I think, how I figured out that lead part pretty easily, because I didn't necessarily know what it was. I knew it in my head. So I figured it out from just, it's like something that just comes naturally to your fingers while you're playing a guitar or a piano.
It was very funny to be like, to record so much stuff and not actually tell you the chords.
Yeah, I know.
I did not I just constantly just I think there was only like really twice that I actually listed the chords in it.
Sometimes I'm getting better at that, right? I'm getting better at just sort of hearing the notes. But there was a couple of songs where I did not know. Like, I kept trying, and I was like, I do not know.
Yeah.
I would eventually text you and be like, what are you playing? Because I just could not figure it out.
That makes me feel good, because I feel like a lot of my, songs are all very simple. So, like, that at least makes me feel good about the...
I think What's Going On was one in particular that I was like, I can't figure this out. And I remember doing the bass part for What's Going On and thinking I wasn't totally sure I had it.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the next song, We Are All the Earth.
Oh, yeah. This was like the last song that came together.
I think so, too. It's because I had just written it, pretty much. I wrote it, and then we recorded it.
Yeah, that's right. You wrote it. I heard it in Tuesdays with Morgan, and I told you I really liked it. And then you... recorded it.
Well, and it was like, we were in the midst of doing this whole thing. I was pushing you for more songs. I was pushing you to the idea of that it should be like, I wanted it to be, I guess you might have said 12 actually, now that I'm thinking about it, but I remember being like, are we doing 14 songs on this thing? You know, like.
Yeah, I remember thinking 14 felt a little long. So I'm glad we only did 12, in part because
me too.
we probably have a few we can carry forward.
Well, and it just worked out where, you know, when you're throwing all these songs at the wall, you know, it's like, these are the ones that worked.
Yeah.
Like, as a full, you know, like, it, as we were listening to it, we were kind of like, this doesn't really fit here, kind of thing. And like, you know, yeah, we scrapped more than one off of it. But so We're All the Earth. Yeah, I wrote it and we recorded it pretty much right away.
And it's like, it's very straightforward. It's funny. I'm looking at it right now in GarageBand and it looks like a lot of tracks, but it's because there's so many individually recorded drums.
Yeah, sure.
But it's really not that much stuff. It's like guitar, bass, and banjo.
I remember.
And the organ. Your organ part.
I remember us saying while we were recording it that it was like very like straightforward rock song. Like it just really. I don't know. The simplicity worked in that way. You could do a lot of these songs straight up like that, but it just didn't lend itself to really adding much more.
No, and in fact, the banjo part that you recorded, you sent me a banjo part and an organ part, and I actually kind of chopped the banjo part in and out. So
yeah.
The banjo part like appears and disappears throughout the song because there were times when I wanted it to sound a little more empty.
Yeah, it just wasn't, you know, it wasn't needed until it was.
Yeah, and then there was that sample at the end that you did.
Yeah, that's a Mary Elizabeth Fry poem. Let me tell you about that really quick.
Yeah.
So the reason that I included that was that actually came in late too, and it was because I had played it. I played that song that week for Brittany, our sister Brittany, and she said, "I really like that song. It reminds me of this poem." And she was talking about how she found this poem in like a cookbook of her mother-in-law's that was clipped from a newspaper. So this poem is attributed to Mary Elizabeth Fry in 1932. It was not confirmed that she had actually been the one that wrote it until like 98. When like a newspaper columnist like was able to determine that it was actually her. This woman had never written a poem before, but had this Jewish woman from Germany staying with them, and she was her friend was saying like, my mother's really sick, but like things aren't going well in Germany right now for people, so like they told me I shouldn't come back. And so her mother goes on to die of illness, and she was saying like, that's the one thing I regret is not being able to stand by her grave and shed a tear. So this woman had never written a poem before and was inspired by it so much that she sat down and wrote this beautiful poem. And when I read it, I was like, yeah, it is like this song. Like they're just very similar in like the way that they like in their imagery and stuff too. So I was like, I gotta fit it in here somehow. So I just sat and recorded myself reading the poem, and like I had kind of messed around with where it would be placed for a while, but then I just ended up tacking it on to the end.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for like a spoken word sample. Obviously, I love Titus Andronicus. So,
yeah.
And Connor Oberst.
Yeah.
So I was definitely happy to have it. I think it's cool.
What's going on?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about what's going on already, in that it was the speed of the song was manipulated to accommodate the drums.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it was one that a little backstory to that song. I wrote it and it just sat in a notebook. I never did anything with it. I actually marked in one of my notebooks where it is from February 2017.
I remember when you first sent it to me, I asked you if it was a cover because it just did not sound like, I don't know, it didn't sound like one of your songs.
The you saved this song from its grave by like fixing the speed. It was really like, because I don't know, I just, maybe I didn't have a whole lot of like hope for it to be one of the songs that we picked, so I like didn't really record. It was that I did record to a metronome, but the end is so jumbled that I like couldn't really keep track of it while I was recording it, so it was really messed up. And you did some real magician work on that song, because it wasn't gonna happen for a while. But it's one of my favorites. Like the drums that you put on, I love that song.
Yeah, it's got some duct tape on it for sure, but like and you know, it's funny. So the samples in this song are, some of it is from The Great Gatsby.
Can't repeat
the
the
Baz
past.
Luhrmann Great Gatsby.
No.
Which I just happen to have the Great Gatsby soundtrack
Of course you
in
can.
my iTunes library.
Of course you can.
Which I don't know where that came from because I definitely did not buy it. But I had it for a while there. I was in this Dropbox. I had this shared Dropbox with like some of my friends from Video Gum, which is like a now defunct pop culture blog. But we had this Dropbox, and so people would just put stuff in the Dropbox, like episodes of TV shows and albums and stuff. And so I would just download stuff because it's like, hey, it's here, why not? So that's probably where it came from. But anyway, they'd have a couple of these samples in there, and I like Large Parties and You Can't Repeat the Past, and so they just sort of sounded good in there. The other samples are from the Nixon tapes.
Operator.
Could you try to Governor Wallace?
So they're White House recordings from the presidential administration of Richard Nixon.
I feel like I didn't know that. I must have, but that's strange. I don't think I knew that.
What else is in that song? Oh, I remember. I really like the bass line in that song. I had it's like probably one of my very few like real bass lines. I tend to like really just sort of play along with the with whatever the chord progression is, but the bass line in that song is very rhythmic.
I dig that. It's funny. It's like you wanna say all the songs on this album are different, but this one is definitely one of the stranger tracks.
Yeah, and it's a song that doesn't have a lot of stuff in it, so it sort of makes sense. I think about the way that a lot of like music, like live music sets are organized, and a lot of it is sort of practical reasons, where
Sure.
For one thing, it's like you always want to start big and strong, so you always have like a lot of bangers up early, and then once you kind of have the audience, then you can kind of slow down a little bit. And in some cases, for like bigger bands, they'll like it's so the couple of members of the band can like take a break, like walk off stage for a minute. So you have that. That's like a staple kind of. As you get toward the end of a live set, it slows down a little bit, and then it ramps back up for the end. So it sort of made sense to have these songs kind of toward the end of the album where they just, they only had 4 or 5 instruments, and they were like still upbeat songs, but they weren't like crazy.
Same old sad songs.
Wow, we're already at same old sad songs?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well,
Same Old Sad Songs is probably your favorite and my favorite.
Oh
right?
yeah, it's definitely my favorite song from the album for sure.
Yeah. It's so weird too, because like I wrote this song in December 2019 and it sat in the notebook and I never did anything with it. And it really, just to put you in the perspective, like 2 days or a couple days before, we had recorded Bright Eyes, Full Hearts, Can't Lose, Oh Holy Fools, and One Jug of Wine episode.
Oh, wow, yeah, so a ways back.
A ways back. Yeah, so it's sat in a notebook, and I didn't do anything with it, and then it was just one that really came to fruition on this album.
Well, I remember, so one of the first things I did, I wanted to do something with, like, toy instruments. And so I took my little toy piano, which is funny, because we always call it Arlo's piano now, but Christy actually bought that for me before we had kids. So it's a little toy piano, and I played it, and I had been experimenting with that octave dropping thing I was telling you about last time. And so I put regular pitch toy piano in one ear and octave dropped piano in the other ear, and it just sounded really cool. And I had to really edit that track because I played the wrong note like a bunch of times.
Oh no.
And so every time I played the wrong note, the song's in C, so I would just replace that note with C. And so I just, that's how I fixed my mistakes. But it took a lot of like chopping after I had recorded the part.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I actually think I did some of it after I had changed the octaves. So it's like there's a couple times where the low note and the high note are actually different.
Low note and the high note are actually different. Yeah, I mean I love when that kind of stuff takes place, and this song is like, it's just full of little tidbits, like.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's all the tricks.
There's a lot of like ukulele riffing on this song, and because I think that's the instrument I'm probably the best at just kind of improvising on.
Sure.
So there's 2 ukulele tracks again in each side, like left and right ukulele tracks, and each one has a couple different pitches, and I feel like I explained this last time, and maybe I don't think I did. So there's actually...
you're talking about the one that is all uke stuff.
Oh yeah. So in this song, there's 6 ukulele layers, and 3 in each side, and each one is a single track. It's a single take. So I didn't record 6 ukulele tracks. I recorded 2, and then I copied it 3 times. So
awesome.
I took each set of 3 octaves of ukulele, all playing at the same time, and I moved them into Final Cut, separate from the rest of the song. And I just randomly chopped out sections of 1 or more layers at a time, without knowing where it was really falling in the song. So at any given time in the song, you are hearing between 2 and 6 ukulele parts, and they just kind of come in and out all the time.
That's honestly amazing.
Yeah, and it was such a fun little experiment to do, because like when I did that, and all I could hear was ukulele. So then I finished both sets of tracks, and I exported them, and I put them back into the song.
Taught it to
And I had never, I had not heard the song with all those ukulele parts. Even though I recorded it, I didn't know what it was going to sound like. So I got to just put them in and then play the song and hear the whole thing. And it definitely unlocked the way the rest of the song was going to sound for me, And the drums and the toy instruments and everything all came after that. Because it was like, unexpectedly, that ukulele part was like the skeleton of the song that I was building everything else around. I just didn't know it until I had it. But
yeah, that honestly makes sense with the sound, because it is really like, even though we're doing all these different things in it like all the different toy instruments and stuff really sound like a real fluid thought, It really does it, and it makes the song.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of what all the instruments are that are on this song. It's got like a toy xylophone, toy piano, a shaker, a toy like squeeze box, like a toy accordion.
Yep. The little red one.
Yeah, a triangle. Oh gosh, what else? It was like everything. There's actually a recorder even in this song. I even played the recorder.
Wow. The boys in the song.
Oh yeah, that's right. We have there's a sampled appearance from Arlo and Isaac that is also auto-tuned. Yeah, so it's Isaac is just kind of making some noise, and Arlo is saying, "I want to too," because he knows I'm recording Isaac, and he wants to. He also wants to participate.
And we got you to sing a verse on it too.
Yeah, that's true. That was like the last edition.
Well, because I was like, I really love listening to you sing. And we didn't have enough of it. And I was like, I think there were a couple of songs that we were saying do it with. But like that we were just gonna chop out one of my verses and have you sing it. But we were working on Same Old Sad Songs, and it was like, I don't know. I like the verses in the song too. Like it's not one that it sat around just because I didn't like it or something. I always liked the song, but I like the Soldier of Love line.
Oh yeah, that's a good line. I like that too.
Yeah, so it just worked out where that was the song that we picked, and it's perfect. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this is how I don't even know how many tracks this song is. It's whoops. I turned something up. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 tracks.
Good God.
It's 28 tracks, and that's not counting the combined ukuleles, because the ukuleles are combined into one track. So there's actually another 4. So it's 32 tracks, this song.
Wow. That's ridiculous. Did I do anything on that song other than just record the...
hang on. Let me see.
It's probably just vocals and the guitar track that we put it down on.
It might be. Yeah. There's a sound toward the end in that last little breakdown. Which, by the way, like, a little bit of a shout out to the Phoebe Bridgers song Scott Street, which also ends with this kind of like cacophony of toy instruments, but in a much subtler way. Like, I heard that, and I remember listening to a Song Exploder episode where they talked about it, and I was like, I like this, but I wish it were more intense.
Sure.
And Phoebe Bridgers definitely got the memo about being more intense on Punisher, but it was just sort of subtle. So I wanted to do like the exaggerated version of that. But one of the sounds you actually hear is I think I was hitting a tambourine against my desk. And then I just took the basket of percussion instruments that were sitting there and I just knocked it over on the ground.
Awesome.
And that's one of the sounds. So
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, so last track, King Sham.
Oh yeah, King Sham. Okay, so King Sham was the first song we started working on.
Yeah. King Sham was another one that like almost got mixed from the album early on.
Was it? Funny.
Yeah,
I feel like it was always in the mix. So it started out with originally it was like the organ part and the bass and the vocals. That's what you sent me originally. All of that together. And then I remember putting in drums and liking it, but then there was a couple of times where I just didn't quite like how the drums sounded. So I took that section of the song out and recorded a little more drums, and it started to feel like I started to get a feeling for how the song was going to sound. And so I was just kind of doing a lot of just textural stuff with drums and like synthesizers. And for the longest time, I was like, I'm not gonna play any guitar in this song.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I was thinking about how the song sort of goes through this cycle, this like melodic and instrumental cycle a couple of times. And I thought, well, you want to make it different each time. And so I picked one toward the end, and I was like, oh, this is the one where it's going to like explode like a bomb. And you'll only hear like a little bit of like guitar scratch for like a second beforehand, and then it'll be like this huge burst of guitar. And it's like 6 chords. In that moment, because it's just like a big like D chord or whatever, and then I kind of did that Blake Sennett thing where you kind of like go like all the way up to like F sharp and then like back
that
down.
is a Blake Sennett thing. Shout out to Blake Sennett, man.
Yeah. So there's like that kind of really loud like fast kind of guitar thing happening underneath, and then I think just a couple more layers of it's all basically just like a very loud ringing D chord, but there's just a lot of like little stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I really liked like little squeals of guitar feedback and stuff. It's hard to do when, as we stated before, I was recording most of this like live.
Right.
So they're kind of like manipulated harmonic things, you know, and I don't really know that much about guitar harmonics, but I definitely played around with it.
Sure.
And I was happy with how all that angry guitar sounded. Mm-hmm. So that was fun to record. And I like almost all the vocals in this song are you, because I really had a hard time singing this song in the key that it's in. But there's kind of like, I kind of did some like super low, like, darling, whatever. And then something that it happens toward the end that I kind of wish was a little louder is I start doing this like, thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool because there's something about the song and the way that it's kind of like I don't know what the rhythmic. It's kind of like a dirge, like rhythmically. It's just kind of like a thud.
Yeah.
Thud. So it sort of sounded a little bit like something a monk would record or something. So I
really like that.
Yeah.
I do some of them too because you're doing like I built upon that too. I really love that. That's very that's David Byrne shit.
Yeah. And then, of course, the thing I was happiest about early on with this song was the guitar parts at the end, which was it was kind of my Titus Andronicus tribute. I mean, I do a lot of Titus Andronicus tributes and stuff. But having those layers of guitar coming in, you know, what I was imagining was a band on stage, you know, and it's like there's just way too many guitars. And now they're all playing a part together in unison, and it's like so exciting.
Well, I mean, we know that's. I mean, this is the end song to the album. You know, like it really fills out the need there, and like, I feel like it wouldn't work anywhere else.
No, you know what I mean? It's too long, and it ends. You know, it sounds like the end. It sounds like the end of something.
Right.
Which is funny because it was the first song we recorded.
I know. Yeah.
But, you know, I think that can be very fun with like a creative project. And maybe this is something you've had before with like Tuesdays with Morgan or something where like the first thing you know is how it's going to end. Sure. I've had that happen a lot. Like, I remember I had this screenplay that I like wrote most of, and I started out with like, oh, I know how this ends, and then I was like, oh, okay, so what's the story that leads up to this ending? Yeah. And you just kind of try to work your way to that note.
I mean, that was kind of like the deal with this song to begin with. Like when I wrote it, this is an old song. I probably wrote this in 2011. Actually, no, I think because actually, do you remember that King Sham is a band suggestion of yours? A band title suggestion.
Oh, it was? No, I didn't know that. That's funny.
Okay, King Sham was like, and I loved it so much. I thought it was so great, and so I wrote the song.
I was
bet
ahead
I
of
wrote
my
it.
time because King Sham sounds like a newer band. You know, like King Sham sounds like a band that got popular in like 2015.
Dude, I just loved it so much that I was like, I have to work this into something. And so I wrote the song. I guess now that I think about it, I probably wrote it in like 2009, 2010, because that would have been my freshman year at Keene.
I want you back where you belong. You want me to lie to get you back in my arms.
And
I remember making a video of you playing this song around the time that we were preparing for Brittany's wedding.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I also had a shaved head there.
Yep.
And I had the shaved head. I base a lot of things about around when I got arrested when I was 18. So, you know.
So yeah, so that's our album. That's Relative Isolation.
It is. It's the thing I'm most proud of this year. I really love what we did. I'm really excited about doing it again. You know, it's
knowing
like,
what we know now, I think we can continue to have fun with the process, but I think we can probably work with more intention the next time we do this.